Hello and welcome back to the Retro Asylum. So the ZX Spectrum, or the Spectrum, has been announced. Over the weekend, news leaked, or at least retail sites decided to put it up for sale. Basically what happened was it was a bank holiday in the UK, and there was supposed to be a big announcement on Tuesday afternoon at 2 PM. But unfortunately, some of the retailers jumped the gun slightly and images started getting posted up on the internet. Now, at the time, I was actually sat on a beach in Greece, and I quickly posted the news on our Twitter feed. And since then, I think it's had over 32,000 views, this story. And that's just our little outlet alone. Another Twitter account that I know and follow actually got over 45,000 views posting the same story. So it's obvious that this is a very popular move. So the Spectrum, it's being done by Retro Games Limited, who have quite a history now of releasing these kind of products. They first released the C64 Mini, which was a little unit in the shape of a C64, but the keyboard didn't work. It had USB ports on and you could connect your own keyboard. It came with a joystick and a load of games, and it all worked rather nicely. Then they brought out the C64 Maxi, which was more or less the same thing but with a working keyboard. I've still got that one. I did buy the C64 Mini and I sold it eventually because I wasn't really using it. I've got the real hardware. And like I say, they've done other things. The A500, which is a small little Amiga 500. Again, no working keyboard. A lot of people thought that Retro Games Limited would be releasing the full-size Amiga for this announcement, but it wasn't to be. A few days previously, they posted a video up of ZX Spectrum Basic, so that was the clue. Anyway, since then, or before that, sorry, they have released an Atari Mini, the A400, which is based on the Atari 8-bit micros, and there was also a variant of the C64 Maxi, which was the VIC-20, slightly different colour, and I guess that loaded up the VIC-20 side of things, because the C64 that they produced also came with a VIC-20 mode. So the Spectrum, a lot of people seem to think it's a mini release. It isn't. It's actually the full-size 48K model with a working keyboard, rubber keys, but of course this time you can plug it into HDMI TV, no problems. It comes bundled with 48 games, sorry, and it's got 4 USB sockets on the back, so you can plug in USB joypads or joysticks, and you can also load up any of your games that you own legally on a USB stick. So basically any file that you can find on the internet of Spectrum games, this thing should load. Now, a lot of there's been a bit of a backlash. People have noticed it isn't branded Sinclair, because the original Spectrum was by Clive Sinclair, or at least it was his company that produced it. And it turns out, although I admit I got it wrong, I was telling people it's definitely it's an official product, and as far as I know, it is. I think they went to whoever owns the copyright of Sinclair now, which I think is Sky. I might be wrong. It was Sky at one point anyway. And they were denied the Sinclair brand, but as far as I'm aware, they could still use the actual design of the computer. So it doesn't say Sinclair on it, it just says Retro the Spectrum. But the funny thing is The ROMs, now if you ever owned a ZX Spectrum in the past yourself, you'll know that it always said copyright 1982 Sinclair Research. It's not going to say that anymore. This thing has actually got its own ROMs on it, as far as I know. This is what I've been told. The good thing is that it's Chris Smith, who works for Retro Games Limited. I think he's behind the software on this, and he's a very good developer of Spectrum emulation, so we should be in good hands. So hopefully, although they've had to change a part of the ROM, it'll be a custom ROM. Hopefully it'll be 100% compatible. That's my only slight fear with this thing. Their previous products have all been quite nice, with you know, nice little flashy section where you can select what games you want to load up and what have you, and this will be the same. And again, like their other products, you get a USB stick with some ROMs, game ROMs on it, or files. Stick it in the back and you'll be able to load up those games as well. So no more, although I think there is going to be a mode you can actually let the games load as if they were on tape, you know, with the flashing borders and whatnot. You'll be able to do that, or you'll be able to load the games instantly, like you can with pretty much every emulator out there. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's probably not a product I'll buy myself, because I've got other means of playing ZX Spectrum games. I've got a Spectrum Next. Yes, I'm in that camp, and it doesn't make me think that, oh, this isn't good enough. It's just I've got a Spectrum Next. I've got a real Spectrum. I've got a Mister, which is currently running Manic Miner here in the background. So I've got plenty of ways to play ZX Spectrum games. But I think this is going to be a great introduction, or a re-entry for a lot of people. Maybe people who previously owned a ZX Spectrum, they will be interested in playing it on a modern TV, because let's face it, hooking up retro equipment to modern TVs can be a pain, especially with the old Spectrum. It was an RF cable, which you just don't get on TVs anymore. So I think it's a good thing. This, although it's not a product I'll buy, I think it's a great entry system for a lot of people, and it will get people back into the scene. Also, there's going to be people maybe from the States who are interested, and they'll hopefully be able to buy them. I know a lot of them are worrying that they're not going to be able to get hold of them. I'm sure that if they're not being distributed in the States, you'll be able to get hold of them via Amazon UK, I should imagine. That shouldn't be a problem. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting time for the ZX Spectrum scene. I think you know, it'll bring in a lot of people, and in the UK it will come with a mini Crash magazine, a special edition, especially packaged with the Spectrum. So there you go. I think a lot of people probably thought that I'd be quite negative about it, but no, I don't think so. I think all these systems, although they're not aimed at someone like me, because I can play all these different systems with a real hardware or via a Mister, but I think as an entry system for bringing people back into the scene, or who are new to the scene, these are ideal. Okay guys, there you go, there's my thoughts. We'll be discussing it more, no doubt, on the actual podcast, so tune in, retroasylum.com. See you soon. Bye bye.